Hi, hello, and welcome to Ninson Smart Solutions. So in today's video, I'll be looking at the Foundation Gcse paper 2022, and we'll be looking at paper 1. I hope to do 3 parts to this paper. So what that means is that this video will be the first part. Okay, so I'm looking at the first part, which means that if you are hoping to get at least a grade and not get an ungraded grade, which is a U grade, you want to be able to do this first part of the paper. I'm hoping this paper has 30 questions, so I'm hoping to spend about 20 minutes on the first part. We'll see how far this will get us to. If that gets us to do 10 questions, that's great. If it gets us to do 12 questions, that's great. And then we'll do the second part, which will also be about 20 minutes, so that will take us to the middle part of the paper. Be sure to pause the video, and by all means have a go at the questions and check if your answers will agree with mine. I welcome you all to Ninson Smart Solutions. Okay, so let's begin. Before I begin a paper, I always like to look at a few things from the front and highlight what a lot of students don't look out for. So I'll try and make it a little bit bigger and then try to highlight a few things. First of all, we do know that this paper is non-calculator. So it says non-calculator there, which means we are not going to be using our calculator. It's a foundation paper, it's paper 1. And as you go down, it tells you this paper is out of 80 marks, so that's good for us to know. And it says the marks of each question are shown in brackets. And there's a little advice here for us that we have to pay attention to. It says we should read each question carefully before you start to answer it, and try to answer each question. Check your answers if you have time at the end, and good luck with your examination. So they are encouraging you to have a good go. One important thing here that sometimes don't get seen is this part here. It says diagrams are not accurately drawn unless you've been told to. You've been told so. So unless otherwise indicated, they are not accurately drawn. That means that unless we are asked to measure, we don't measure with a ruler or a pair of compasses. It will be very specific if they want us to. And then another bit that is so important is that you must show all your working. Cultivate the habit of having a highlighter to highlight questions and important bits within the questions to help you, and make sure you make use of the spaces that have been provided for us. Okay, so without saying much, I'm just gonna dive straight into the paper, and then we'll look at some of the things that we need to do when answering questions. Okay, if you want to pause the video before I start each time to have a go at the questions, by all means do so. Okay, so we're going to look at the first question, and as you can see, it says change 40 centimeters into millimeters, and then we see that the mark is 1 mark. What that means that this is a very straightforward, easy question that you're expected to know. Okay, so we're going to try and look at this question. And one of the things I always tell my students, and if you're my student and you're watching, remember this technique. We said that the millimeters and centimeters are metric units. Okay, so what we're going to try and look at is what are the metric units. This is a way to remember, okay, so you don't forget. The largest is our kilometers, and then the next after kilometers is meters. Then we've got centimeters, and then millimeters, which is what the question wants for us to do. These are called metric units because they are all in the 10 times tables. Okay, so basically when we're moving from centimeters to millimeters, we will divide by 10, and when we're moving from meters to centimeters, we'll divide by 100, and we're moving from kilometers to meters, we will divide by 1000. Okay, that means that going backwards we will multiply. Of course, I know this question is not about going backwards, but it's important to remember this technique. Okay, so we're multiplying by 100, and then we're multiplying by 1000. Okay, so in terms of this question, we want to convert from centimeters right to millimeters. So what that means is we are here on centimeters and we are going, so green is where we want to go to. We want to go to millimeters, and we know from centimeters to millimeters is to divide by 10. So all we're doing is 40 divided by 10, and if you know your times tables, you know that will be 4 millimeters. So what we need to do is go on the answer line and then we write 4. And if you know this technique, you can then use it to do other tricky such calculations. Okay, so that's straightforward. The next question is question number 2. It says to simplify, and here we are adding. So what this question is asking for us to do is how many e's are there. So there's e, add e, add e, add e, and we can tell that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So we've got 4 e's. Okay, and all we need to do is go to our answer line and write 4e, and that's straightforward. It's very simple. Often the first few questions will be warm-up questions that will help you to understand. Okay, the next question is pretty simple, and this question does not say it is not accurately drawn. It is a scale diagram, it's on a grade, and we've been told that we should, of course, understand that this is the grade, and it says on the grade we should reflect. So we're gonna draw the same shape, and we've been given a mirror line, so we have to be of course aware of this mirror line. What this means is you need to grab a ruler. Okay, so I've got my ruler here, and for us to be able to use our ruler, we need to make sure we mark our points that we'll use our ruler to be able to draw. Okay, so we know that the end here from the mirror line in the middle of this red triangle is 1, 2, 3 squares to the right. So we're gonna go 3 squares to the left. 1, 2, 3. So that means that the point of our triangle that we're going to draw, which is our image, should be exact same symmetrically around our mirror line. Okay, so now we're gonna try and then rotate our ruler so that we can draw perfect straight line, because we need to make sure it is to scale. Okay, so as I put my ruler on it, I then draw my straight line, and that goes there, and then I do the same thing to the other side. Make sure it is perfectly lined up, because if it is not lined up properly, you will lose marks. Okay, so we getting that drawn, make sure it is lined up. So I'm getting mine lined up, and then I draw. So this, then if I take it away, you can see that it is perfectly fitting on the mirror line, and it is lined up exactly the way it should be, and this is actually worth 1 mark. Okay, now we're going to the next question, question number 4. I'll be checking the time, making sure that we are on time as well. So make sure if I'm going too much on the time, I'll bear that in mind. Okay, the next question says write down the value of the 6 in the number. Okay, so the number is 16007. Numbers are written such that the last digit is in the unit column, then we have the 10 column, then the 100 column, then we've got the 1000 column, and then the 10,000 column. Okay, so if we put this underneath these digits, we've got 7, we've got 0, we've got 0, we've got 6, and we've got 1. So immediately we notice that the 6 is in the 1000 column, so it is 6,000. So it says to write a value, we can either write 6,000, or we could spell and write 6,000. Okay, so either will be acceptable because it doesn't specify which way we should write it in. Okay, now if we go to question 5, it says write these numbers in order of size, start with the smallest number. Questions that usually have a mixture of fractions and decimals and percentages, you always have to use common sense. Okay, go off with the bit that is easiest. A half as a percentage is easier to remember than writing it as a decimal, or even converting the percentages to decimals, which of course you could. So when I look at it, it's easier to convert that into a percentage as 50%. That as a percentage will be 55%, and that as a percentage will be 45%. Of course, I don't change it at all, and it's easier to recognize that and to put them in order. And of course, the question here is to try and put them and say start with the smallest. Always go back, read the question again, especially the last sentence of a question. Okay, so whilst we're doing that, we're starting with the smallest, and we have to always remember to go back to what the question wants us to do. It says the smallest, and the smallest here is 45%. So 45% should be written first. Then the next one is our 50%, but we're not going to write 50%. The question gave us a half, so we'll write 1/2. And of course, the last one will be the 0.55, which is the 55%. So 0.55. Remember to write your answers on the dotted line, and that's our answer. Easy, again, easy, 1 mark. Okay, like I said, the first part of the questions are always warm-up questions, and we should endeavor to do our best to get all the marks given there. The next question says a pictogram. So a pictogram is a diagram basically, and gives us information about the number of hours of sunshine on a Saturday, okay, and then on a Sunday. So we have to immediately go to the key. The key is the important part to understanding pictograms. So the key is what we want. So I'm using a different color here. So the key here says that star, whatever the diagram is, represents 2 hours of sunshine. So it says work out the number of hours of sunshine on Saturday. So Saturday, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each one represents 2. So we've got 4 lots of our 2, which then gives us 8 hours. So 8 hours will be our answer. Very easy question again. So we're doing well, and I hope you pausing the video and having a go. Okay, so question 7. If you want to pause the video and have a go, this is a 3 marker. It is very important that you score the full marks. Don't panic, especially when it is worded. I'll make it a little bigger so those of you who want to pause and have a go can see. It says Simon buys some candles. Each candle costs £2. Simon pays with a £20 note. He gets £6 change. Work out the number of candles Simon buys. So immediately I know that Simon had a £20 note. I know that he got £6 change. So the first thing I'm looking at here is the word change, which means I should subtract. So I'm thinking take away. So I'm going to subtract. And so we've got our £20, take away 6. That means everything Simon bought came up to £14. So that's what we know. But each of the items that Simon bought, we were told, was each £2. The word each means one of them. Okay, so one of them at a time was £2. Okay, so what we need to work out is how many of our £2 can go into 14, and that is 7. So it means that each one of them was 7. It means that there were 7 of them. I beg your pardon. Okay, so it's not each one of them being 7, but there are 7 of them all together. All right. Or what you could say is, if I got £2, another £2, how many lots of the £2 will I have to get my £14? So that's another way of doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Again, this could give us our £14. So it says to work out the number. So again, when you read the last sentence, it's so important. Work out the number of candles Simon buys, and we can see here that Simon buys 7 candles, and it's important to put our answer on the number line or on the answer line. Okay, The next question here is a bar chart, and they're telling us more about bar chart. So it's important. Again, if you want to pause the video and have a go, that's fine. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, I'm gonna do it now. So it says the bar chart shows information. It shows information about the total rainfall each month for 4 months in a city. So looking at the labelings, when you see a graph, always don't panic. Look at the labels, okay? On the y-axis and on the x-axis, we've got month here, and then we've got our total of months. So we've got months here and got total rainfall there. So it says in May, the total rainfall was 35 centimeters in May. In June, the total rainfall was 20. We should complete this. So I'm gonna get my ruler, make sure it is neat and tidy. Every time you get graphs, make sure you draw it neatly. Okay, so we got 35 to go up to 35 there. So I put it on and then I draw my line. And then I make sure I give equal gaps between them. So I've got my May going up to 35. Okay. And then I can make my ruler straight again and make sure I've got it working the way I want. Okay, so that comes down a little bit and then I draw it. So this gives me May. And then we've got our rainfall for June. Again, leave a gap and that goes to 20. Okay, so we make sure we draw a 20 bar. So 20 is there and then we draw it. Okay, and then we've got the other side, which should also be 20. And then we draw it. Make sure it got the same distance, the same width of the bar. They must be equal and they must have the same spaces. Make sure it's neat and tidy. And then again, we got our top bit that needs to be drawn. Okay, and that's drawn neatly. Okay, so we can see that we've got our bar chart drawn and completed, and that's easy to do. Now it says Rupa says in February there was 15.5 centimeters of rainfall because the bar chart is half a square above 15. Okay, so as you can see, it says explain why Rupa is incorrect. This is very important. If you are halfway between 15 and 20, another way of looking at it is think, what's 20 add 15? That gives us 35. If we find half of 35, that gives us 17 and a half, which means 17.5. So Rupa is definitely not right. It must be 17 and a half and not 15.5. Leaving your answer this, one of the ways to give reasons mathematically is to show working for what you think it is. Okay, so okay, say half of 35 equals 17 and a half and not 15.5, and that should suffice to give you full marks. Okay, the next one, I know I said I'll be spending 20 minutes per question, so we come in there, we're doing really well and you're doing really well as well. Okay, so we spend 20 minutes per a part in this video. There'll be 3 parts, like I said. So here goes question 9. Here's a sequence, I'll make it bigger, of patterns made from gray square tiles. Pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, 4. Okay, so it says on the grid below we should draw pattern number 5. So one of the things you can see is look at what is happening each time. Here we go down 2 and we go right 2. We go down 3, right 3, down 4, right 4. Okay, so what that means, our pattern number 5 should go down 5 and right 5. Okay, so again, make sure you use a ruler. Whenever you're on a grid, make sure it looks neat and tidy. Okay, so we're gonna go to the right 5 and then we'll go down 5. So make sure you give enough room for your work. So we're having 5 squares. Okay, so make sure it's neat and tidy. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're gonna go down 5 also. Okay, so we're going down 5 because that's what it has done. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then of course you are trying to draw a similar shape, so you have to look at completing the shape and making sure it is neat and tidy. Okay, so we're drawing the shape to make sure it is neat and tidy. Okay, and we complete the bottom part. Again, making sure it's neat and tidy. The more neat and tidy your work is, the better the chance of you getting full marks throughout. Okay, so do your best and do the work like you care, because you do care for a good grade. Okay, so we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that we are definitely right for pattern number 5. Okay, so then it tells us to try and complete this. Look out for patterns. Okay, so pattern number 1 has 1 square, then number 2 has 3. So we see that it grows by 2 each time. So look out for patterns. Okay, so here we're gonna grow by 2 to go to 9 when we add 2 to 7. And when we add 2 to 9, we're gonna get 11, and this gives us our answer to the second part. Okay, this is up to question 9. All right, I'll do question 10 and I'll pause the video and we'll look at doing question 11 and so on for the next part of the video. Okay, so the question 10, I'll make it bigger. Again, by all means, feel free to pause the video, have a go at the questions, and then see what you can make out of it. So it says in Norway last year, the lowest temperature was minus 15 degrees Celsius. In Norway last year, the highest temperature was 42 degrees Celsius. Greater than, okay? So greater than, these two words here means more than, okay? So in Norway last year, the highest temperature. So another emphasis here for us is the highest temperature. The temperature that was highest, and we have the lowest temperature. Okay, so this is a habit where you need to have to be able to unpick your question. So it says in Norway last year, the highest temperature was 42 degrees greater than the lowest temperature. Okay, so work out the highest temperature. So remember, you could actually use a number line to help you here. So you don't need to use a ruler because the question is not about it. Okay, so I'll draw a long number line. Okay, I start from minus 15, then I'll come to 0. So I've jumped 15. So I've added 15 to get to 0. Now I'm trying to go right up to a temperature that is 42 beyond minus 15. So if I jump 15 again, that gives me 30, okay, because I've got 15 and 15, which gives me 30. So I'm trying to go to 42. So from there to there, I've got 30. Now how much more do I need to go to get to 42? All right, so that is the whole idea. Okay, so I've got 15, then I'm gonna jump 10. So if I jump 10, that brings me to 25. And remember, I need to make 42. So this 10 add to it gives me 40. I need 2 extra. Okay, so if I add 2 extra to my 25, that brings me to 27. And so the highest temperature should be 27 degrees Celsius. I know you have different ways of looking at it. You could, yes, you could do minus 15 at 42, and maybe you might want to be able to figure it out. If that is too tricky for you, you could understand the idea of the fact that addition is commutative. What that means is that you could switch it around and do 42 take away 15. That should still give you 27 degrees. Okay, so whichever way you look at it, whether you use the number line idea or you use the commutative idea, it should help you. Remember, greater than means more than, which means add, which is why we were adding. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the first part of this foundation paper for the June 2022 Edexcel Maths GCSE. Hopefully you will continue to watch the second part of the video and the third part, which will also be coming shortly. Thank you for watching, and keep watching Ninson Smart Solutions. Don't forget to continue to share, to like, and subscribe. See you.